June 2002. The country was celebrating, streets filled with people, voices rising, flags in the air, everyone looking in the same direction. But at that very moment, someone was asking for help and no one heard it. Days later, she was found in Gimpo. It began like any other day. After school, she came home. Nothing unusual, nothing out of place. Later, she went out again. She said she would meet a friend. It was still early, still safe. To her parents, it felt routine. She had done this before and she always came back. So, at first, they didn't worry. But time passed. The sun dropped lower and the streets grew darker. Still, she didn't return. They called her once, then again and again, but nothing. No answer, no message. At first, they explained it away. Maybe she stayed longer. Maybe her phone died. But as minutes stretched into hours, something shifted. That quiet unease slowly began to take shape. And before they realized it, it had already become fear. The night settled in. Lights went out across the neighborhood and homes fell silent. But inside that house, no one slept. They kept checking the time, calling again, waiting, listening for the sound of the door. But it never came. Every minute felt heavier than the last. The silence was no longer quiet. It was loud, uncomfortable, unavoidable. And with it came a thought they didn't want to face. Something is wrong. Eventually, they made the call. They went to the police, and the moment the report was filed, that ordinary day was gone. It had crossed a line, a point that could not be undone. Time moved forward. One day passed, then two, then more. Search teams spread out, questions were asked, and routes were retraced. But nothing held, no answers, no direction. And then 8 days passed. In a quiet drainage canal in Gimpo, far from where people usually looked, something was found. A place hidden, overgrown, easy to miss. Inside a narrow pipe, in the darkness, they found her, and in that moment, everything changed. This was no longer a missing person case. The location mattered. It wasn't random. It wasn't visible. It required intention. Someone had chosen it. Someone who knew the area. Someone who understood how to hide something in plain sight. This wasn't panic. This wasn't chance. This was controlled. It was planned. At that moment, everything shifted. The investigation changed. They weren't searching anymore. They were hunting. From the very beginning, something worked against them. The country was celebrating the World Cup. The streets were filled with people, noise, and chaos. And this case was buried beneath it, quietly. Time had already moved. Rain had fallen. The scene had changed. What should have remained was gone. There were no witnesses, no clear leads, only fragments with nothing to connect. The search continued. Nearby areas were checked, factories, known offenders, again and again. Leads were followed, one after another, but nothing held. Every path ended the same way. No answers, no progress. Days turned into months, months into years. And slowly, the urgency began to fade. The attention disappeared. Files were closed, stored away, left untouched. The case stopped moving. The world moved on. People forgot, but one place did not. 10 years passed. For most, it became a distant story, something forgotten, left behind. But for the family, it never ended. Time moved forward. But for them, it stood still. Every day, the same question, no answer. Then, in 2012, the case was reopened. A cold case unit returned. Old evidence resurfaced. Dust-covered files, forgotten records, things once ignored were examined again. And among them, her clothing, preserved, untouched, waiting for 10 years. It had remained, and inside, something was still there. Back then, it meant nothing. It couldn't be seen, and there was no way to find it. It was there, but it didn't exist. Not yet. But now, everything had changed. Technology had advanced. DNA, even the smallest trace, could speak. What was once invisible had become evidence. And that trace was still there, hidden, waiting for 10 years, preserved without anyone knowing. And now it had finally been found, not by chance, but by time, by something that refused to disappear. Slowly, it began to point in one direction. The analysis continued, carefully and precisely, but this time it felt different, not uncertain, not distant, closer. For years, this case had remained silent, unanswered, unsolved, but now there was something real, something that couldn't be ignored. Then the result came back. No announcement, no build-up, just a single answer. Detectives looked at the report. No one spoke. They didn't need to, because they already understood. It wasn't a possibility. It wasn't a guess. It was certainty, the kind that leaves no room for doubt. For a moment, everything stood still. Years of questions, years of silence, all leading to this. And in that quiet room, without a word, they knew. The truth had finally surfaced. Detectives went to see him. The hallway was quiet, cold, and still. Each step felt heavier as they moved closer, and then they stopped in front of him. He looked ordinary, almost too ordinary, the kind of face you wouldn't remember, but his past told a different story. No one spoke at first, and then the words were said. "You are under arrest for the Gimpo case from 10 years ago." And just like that, a case frozen in time began to move again. He lived a normal life for 10 years as if nothing had happened. No one noticed and no one knew. He was just another face among ordinary people, and that was the most disturbing part, because some cases don't disappear. They wait quietly, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades, until something finally speaks. That night, the entire country was celebrating. Everyone was looking in the same direction, but in that same moment, a girl never came home. And by the time we realized it, it was already too late. This story ends here. But in the darkness, stories remain. Will you stay for the next one? Dark Case Hub.